Good afternoon, Boys and Girls Club's friends. It's Miss JoAnne from the Boys and Girls Club of Southeast Louisiana, Covington Unit, coming to you again from the polar regions. I'm dressed all warm because we know it gets really cold there. And today we're going to learn about some of the animals that live there. Now remember, if you remember my last video, I talked about there are very few animals that live in the South Pole or Antarctica, but there are many that do live in the North Pole or the Arctic. So today we're going to start talking about polar bears. And I have made a very simple craft out of simply a small paper plate. You can make your own polar bear. You can make your own ears, your eyes, your nose, and draw in a mouth just like that. I want to tell you a little bit about the polar bear. First of all, they are huge. I mean, really huge. They can be, well, look at the one behind me. They can be like 7 feet tall when they stand up, and they can weigh up to 1,500 pounds. That is very, very large. And if he stood up, he could actually touch the rim of a basketball hoop. So that's a big, big animal. Now, they only live in the Arctic, like we talked about, and they like to eat food like seals and walruses, and they will eat all sorts of things like fish as well. Now, they live in dens underneath the snow. So dens are like little places that they've made underneath the snow, a little house they made under the snow, and they live there with their families. And the mother and the father can teach the babies how to hunt when they get a little bit older. They do like to swim, and they can swim really, really fast. Polar bears also, the way they look for food is they sit near holes in the ice. And when animals pop back up, like a walrus, they go in for it. They go in for the kill, and that's where they get to eat. So that is our polar bear, just like the one behind us. Now, another animal that you might see, this one, however, is going to be somewhere in the South Pole. Now, penguins only live down in the South Pole or the Antarctic. Now, I made this out of several paper plates. I made this out of one large paper plate. Then I cut out pieces here to add for the wings. And I added the little feet and the beak. And I cut this out of a smaller paper plate. You can make your penguin however you want to look. Now, penguins do have wings, but they do not fly. They do not fly. So they like to jump into the ocean to get the food they want. And they can stay under the water for a while. They like to eat squid and fish, things that they can find on the ocean floor. But once they need to come back up for air, they shoot up out of a hole in the ice, and then they take a big breath of air, and they shoot back down. Now, the biggest penguins are the emperor penguins. Now, the mothers lay eggs, but the dad and the mom take care of that egg. They keep it right between their little feet to keep that penguin egg warm. So I'd love to see how you can make one. Again, it's one large paper plate. You can just leave that paper plate white. So I took the 2 wings, which I just cut out of a paper plate. Cut this one with a small paper plate. I even cut this out of the rim of the paper plate and here. Now you can use paint, you can use markers, you can use crayons, you can use whatever you have around the house to make a penguin. All right, so now we're going to talk about a walrus. Now, this is my walrus. Now, I think walruses are pretty cute animals. Now, they live in the Arctic, and they are big and fat, and they have flippers instead of feet. They don't really manage very well on the ice. They're kind of awkward, and they roll around. But when they get into the water, they swim very, very well. And they're fat and have lots of layers of blubber. Remember we talked about blubber? So that's what a walrus looks like. Now, they like to use their whiskers here that I've made out of just some simple yarn. You can use string, you can just draw the whiskers on. But they use the whiskers because it gets dark on the ocean floor, and they can feel around for things that they want, the different shellfish and things that they want to eat. They also have these big tusks. Now, the tusks help them break up ice, and it also helps them move around. They use their tusks and they can pull themselves. So that's why they have tusks. They're very social animals, and they make really odd noises. They bellow, and they make all sorts of noises, and that's the way they communicate with one another. So let's look a little more closely on how we can make a walrus. So to make a walrus, you are going to use 3 paper plates. 1 large paper plate, a smaller paper plate cut in half, and another paper plate. So I chose to paint my walrus brown. Now, most walruses either pink or brown, so you can do that if you like. And honestly, it's your it's your walrus, so if you want to make it a purple walrus, that's fine. But just know the ones in the wild are going to be kind of a pink or brown color, a little bit of hair on their body. So I brought some brown paint, and I'm just going to paint my paper plate all around. And if you don't have brown, you can kind of use a mixture of any colors that you do have. You can use watercolors, like I said, you could use markers, even a simple crayon. So here we go, we've got that painted. And we're going to paint the head of the walrus. I'm just doing this very quickly. And then finally, the two fins on the bottom. Remember, they don't have real feet like we do. Kind of just use like these little flippers at the bottom. And again, they're kind of awkward in the way they move and they walk. So here we go. We're going to quickly paint these two flippers. Okay. And let's see how we're going to put this together. So you can use glue. You can use a stapler. You can use tape, however you want to put your walrus together. Now, once you've got all your pieces together, you can decide what you want your walrus's face to look like. Again, I use some Google eyes, but you can just use some cutout eyes like I made here. I just cut out two eyes that you could glue on here. I cut out some tusks. Remember, walruses have tusks. They use them to get around and to cut through the ice. And here's my yarn that I could add as their whiskers. So that's how you make a walrus out of paper plates. All right. Now, there's another animal that you might see